Welcome back to the 2 Months podcast presented by BioSteel. I'm your host, Joshua Marshall. Tonight, we have a very special guest, and he is joining us from Alberta here. So, another good Alberta boy and kind of nice roots from this area. He is the co host of the Speak Your Mind podcast. He is also part of the Not Alone Co brand, and he is an alumni with the Humboldt Broncos. We like to welcome Tyler Smith to the 2 Months podcast. Tyler, how's it going?
I'm doing well. It's an absolute pleasure to be on, and yeah, I mean, it's like we talked about before. It's taken a little bit, but I'm glad that we can finally chat about life, chat about our journeys, and chat about hockey especially.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, it's definitely, like I said before we hit record, it's an honor to have you on, and what you're doing to help people. And I always kind of, when I say this too, it's because one of my heroes is Travis Hamonic, and what he does in his program, and he always kind of does say the same thing too, where in a weird selfish way it helps him too. So
for
I think
sure.
in our journeys where we've all gone and where we went through, um we're helping a lot of people, but at the end of the day too, we're also trying to heal each other, as important as it is to take time to look after each other. But how are things doing with you? And I know you're kind of spending some time with the family. How cool is it to kind of get back to the roots here and see some family?
Yeah, Christmas is always a hectic time, and I think this week kind of it worked out good. I had a speech yesterday in Kalmar, and then I'm gonna head back home to my actual roots where I was born in Hinton on Thursday, and go chat with the high school there. And I think that's it's important. I really am a big family person, and as much as Calgary, where I currently reside, is not too far. It is nice to from time to time be able to definitely spend some quality time with the family, especially even right before Christmas, because Christmas is there's always a lot going on. So it's nice to, even this week, just like a dinner last night at home with the family. My brother's got two dogs, so it's always chaotic, but it's a lot of fun. And I think we have a newfound appreciation for those small little memories and experiences that we're able to have as a family. And that quality time is as much as it's sometimes just even sitting on the couch watching TV. It's still important to us, and we still value that. So it's nice.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. I'll warn everyone, I'll try not to cry tonight. I am an emotional guy. I just interviewed Mike Fuda earlier, and I first time ever, actually, I kind of bawled at the end of the interview. So he's another kind of good role model and whatnot. But there will be some probably emotional talks here, whatnot, and how we go about this journey for the next 45 minutes. But I did some public speaking for about 2 years, Tyler, with a previous job that I was with, and I took a lot out of it. It helped me a lot. I was able to help a lot of other people. And then you were just kind of talking about, you've done some speaking, and you did one yesterday, and you got another one coming up. Kind of what you go into in those conversations, and what do you take out of it? Obviously, there's probably a lot of healing that goes on, and it's a lot of opening up. And then sometimes it's people opening up back to you. But kind of, if you feel like kind of opening up and talking about that, what you kind of help in that journey when you do these public speaking engagements.
Yeah, I always definitely like to touch on the fact that I never really thought I'd be doing something like this. And, I don't know if it's my end, future. I don't know if it's, what I'll continue to do for 10 years, 15 years, 5 years, 2 years. I mean, I really don't know, obviously, what the future looks like. But I think for right now, my biggest thought is if I can help just like create that awareness. And especially for so many people, these past couple of years have really been challenging. And we had way too much time with our own thoughts, and there was a lot that that came to the surface, and there was a lot of people that also started to take care of their mental health. And I think for me, I have a newfound appreciation as well for how much power a story can have. And as I look back, like one of the main reasons I really started opening up, or one of the main reasons I guess I started having these conversations, is it was because of athletes, and was because of like these big time athletes that were coming out and sharing about their struggles, sharing about their depression, sharing about their whatever it may be. I think that was one of the big things that kind of got me to start thinking like, okay, these guys should have it all. These guys really, you would think from an outside perspective, these guys have it made. But I think there's a huge misconception in that. And for me, once I was able to hear these stories and hear their vulnerability as professional athletes, then it really kickstarted my little thought of, okay, well, I'm not obviously alone in this little fight, and I'm not alone in my own little journey as well. So if I can, if I can just take some time and start to learn and try some new things and start to, actually learn some lessons and rewrite some misconceptions I had around mental health. That was the kind of the biggest snowball effect for me, and then that's what kind of led into, I guess, the public speaking world. And I mean, even still to this day, I'm a horrific self promoter. Like, I don't enjoy like going out and like advocating for myself. Like, it's definitely a case of, if somebody hears about my speaking and they want me to come speak, then I don't think I've ever, closed that door to any group or any organization. Like, I really do find that I have learned so much about how it is really just about everybody's journey and how everybody has a journey, no matter what your age, race, background, demographic, whatever it is. And I think that's why I don't, like, it's weird because I don't actually have, like, I guess, a set demographic where I'm like, this is my demographic. Like, I only want to chat with them. I only want to, touch on that, because I really do enjoy having conversations with high school students after my public speaking engagement, hearing about their stories. And then also, even last week, being up in northern Alberta, like Grand Prairie and Dawson Creek, speaking to oil rig workers and oil and gas workers, like the definition of rough and tough. I know having those conversations with these rough and tough individuals after my talks up there, it kind of just, once again, reassured me that if I can make a small impact here and there, and if I can help create some awareness, or if I can help facilitate a conversation, or if I can help make somebody reflect in that instant moment, whether it was a quote I said, whether it was an experience I said, then I think that's kind of like the ultimate goal. And don't get me wrong, it is very therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think it is. I mean, I'm still chatting about more or less the same thing, but I think it's refreshing because kind of the endeavors I've found myself in now have been able to help expand my knowledge and help expand my experiences with mental health as a whole. And just especially some of those conversations, those like profound conversations I'm having, being able to input those like learnings I have from those conversations into my speaking or into my, into the clothing or whatever it may be. I think it all is weirdly tied together, but it all definitely comes back to, I have learned to utilize my support system and I have learned to utilize my resources. But until I was able to really start to look at myself and actually step up and take care of myself for once, then that's kind of what led me on that path of, being open-minded to these opportunities and these new little things. So,
Yeah. What at what point were for you in your journey were you like, okay, I gotta, address it here. I gotta, I gotta go talk to someone. I gotta be open. I can't be closed because I know for me it took a bit of time with kind of the things that I went through in my life, but I would say probably just before the pandemic, which I was actually grateful for, is my connection with Travis Hamonic, where it was like that was my kind of like moment of like, hey, like opening up to someone. And I guess you touched on it was an athlete too, and we all sit there and think everything's perfect because they're on a platform, they're on TV, they're making really good money, but there's still the real life struggles. But was there someone in your life, was there a moment, obviously we have our support with our family, but it always, sometimes it could be a family member, but sometimes it's not. But for you, when and who was that with, or who was that with, about?
yeah. So it took like, I guess as I look back on the timeline of things, accident happened in April of 2018. And I didn't actually probably start to take care of myself until like November of that following year. So quite a few months. And I think I always like to touch on the fact that it wasn't anybody's fault. I had an incredible support system, and I had so many people, not prying and not forcing it, but definitely wanting to be there and wanting to be there for when I was ready to open up or when I was ready to become emotional or whatever it was. but it really did take like going back to Humboldt and playing 10 games and, recovering from all my physical injuries and being so focused on the physical side of stuff and that physical recovery. Being back in Humboldt and being back in that setting, being back in those environments and being back in those places, and unfortunately not seeing the faces that you would anticipate seeing in your next year of junior. Just obviously after the crash and losing so many amazing people that were a part of that team. But my billet mom looked at me. I kind of shared how I was feeling about how I was thinking about stepping away from the game and stepping away from, Humboldt and going home and being with my family. And it's a conversation that I'll forever be grateful for. But, after seeing her pain and struggle that she had inside her eyes because of the pain and struggle that I was, keeping in and just, purely suffering in silence about, she looked me dead in the eyes and she said, "You're going to promise me that you seek help." And it wasn't a case of, she's looking me dead in the eyes and like forcing me to like make this promise. But I mean, the fact that she went out there and still presented that, I think that was that real moment where, I don't know if it was a light bulb moment or however you kind of want to put it, but that was definitely that moment of, okay, me trying so hard of just like putting this mask on and just like suffering in silence and bottling everything up and just kind of waiting for something else to happen, and me not igniting anything me not initiating anything, was really starting to poorly or negatively affect just like the relationships with my people and my people around me who just want the best for me. And that was that conversation that I will forever just look back on and have, so much love and respect for her for being able to have that conversation.
Yeah, that's very special. And obviously you'll have that relationship for the rest of time. And it always goes back. Like you always hear like, when we interview NHL players or other guys a part of other leagues and stuff like that, is that billet family, like the importance of it is so special. It's so awesome to see when these guys go back to places that they played and they get to go hang out with them too, and or spend summers, or if there's a wedding or whatnot, how much they're involved in their life. It's very important. How often do you communicate and get back to kind of see your billet mom and that family?
Yeah, like actually, my billet mom texted me this morning just to check in and just make sure that she knows I'm loved, and it's always something that I really do appreciate, and it's tough because I think if that day weren't to happen and everything were kind of just we finished out the season and that was it, I probably would have more of a I don't want to say inclination, because I still have a real like strong and profound inclination to get back.
Yeah.
But I can only count on obviously like one hand how many times I've actually like been back in Humboldt, and those were definitely times of events or something going on, or the memorial tournament or the first game. And but there has been a couple times where I have been back, and it is it is very unique to be back in a billet house, where you spent so much time and have so many memories. And unfortunately, having my billet brother and their billet son no longer be with us, it's hard. And
Yeah.
but it's something like, I mean, my Nancy and Paul are like my second parents. I mean, I love them so much, and they taught me a lot, and I have so much love and respect for just them.
Yeah.
And for even me going back that second year, I knew it was going to be really tough, and I think it was very tough on them because I just like didn't really give them much. I kind of just decided to go through the motions, and up until this time, I didn't take care of anything mentally or emotionally yet. So they knew, they are the perfect people to kind of be able to not see right through me, but they know what's going on. They know me, they know my emotion, they know kind of, that I do wear my heart on my sleeve, but at that time I wasn't. And yeah, like in an ideal world, I'd love to not be, 7 hours away from Humboldt, because I probably would try and actively go spend more time, because they are two very, very special people to me. But I know obviously even every time I'm in Saskatoon or even in the area, they're always my first text, and I want to make sure that I am staying in contact. And my billet dad's a huge Leafs fan, so I mean I try and have some banter with him every once in a while, because it's been tough sledding for him for a while. But yeah, I mean, they're just gonna forever be my family, and I think I just have, like I said, just so much love for billet as a whole,
Yeah.
and especially the amazing individuals that we had as billet.
Yeah, no, it's good to see that you guys had the support. Obviously, it was very tragic, and like you know, talking to the players that I knew at the time and whatnot, and just kind of everyone just kind of coming together. And I believe it's Kevin Granger that was a part of your organization. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but I know him and I kind of connected online and whatnot, and just kind of seeing the support group, and then like we kind of have a partnership here with TSN, and how cool it was for them to kind of come out and be a part of the game. And I really, really loved your interview with Ray on your podcast not too long ago. And he's been a guest with us, and just an amazing person. And it's kind of where we're on transition next to is the podcast. And I think it's awesome. I listen to it. We've had Kelly Rudy on a couple times with us, and we really try to talk about mental health and have those conversations from where I'm at work or, here. And we always I think it's cool because with podcasts and stuff like that, it's like, it's our way of kind of escaping. If even we're watching a hockey game or a football game, like I follow you on online and whatnot, and you're always updating your fantasy and stuff like that. It's kind of like that it's pretty cool with that, because it gives you that escape from what everything's going on. But how cool has it been to do this podcast and with Riley, and when did that relationship start, and how did that start with him to lead into the great podcast you guys have now?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I really appreciate the support. It's once again an endeavor that I never really thought I'd be doing. But I was
You're
there's
great at it, by the way. So just
oh,
yeah, yeah.
thank you very much. Yeah. There's an amazing individual. Her name is Loren, and she was actually the one that kind of helped get me on their podcast. So it was originally Riley, and then one of the other guys from Torch Pro, who our podcast is powered by. And I went on as the first guest, shared my story a little bit. I didn't know Riley at this time. Like, I knew of Riley, of course. Like, my favorite team's the Penguins,
Yeah.
and he also played in Edmonton. So I mean, I knew of Riles, but I didn't actually know him. And we finished the podcast, and I can't remember what the timeline was, but then they, approached me and asked if I wanted to co-host. And I'm thinking to myself, do I want to co-host a podcast with a professional athlete about mental health? Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So that's what I guess led into that transition of me co-hosting. And yeah, I mean, it's wild, man. Like, it's so much fun, and it's interesting even to look back on the relationship that Riles and I have developed. Riley just made the decision to step away from the NHL and pursue playing in Switzerland, and trying to it's interesting because we even just kind of record, like, I don't even know if I'm really allowed to share this, but we recorded a podcast just about his perspective about making that decision, because that's a big decision. And the fact that I was able to be not be a part of the decision, but be a part of, letting people know on the outside, the process that went into that decision. Because, I mean, he said it perfectly. He's like, my identity's been an NHL player for how long? I've always wanted to be an NHL player. And now, stepping away and making a decision for myself and going overseas to enjoy myself again, and enjoy being a family man again, and enjoy that process of things again. It's very unique for us, because we both have such different backgrounds, and because we both have such different stories. But just like the pure conversations we've had with a variety of our guests have really made me take a step back sometimes and learn quite a bit. There's been definitely a couple of my like favorite like I love every guest we brought on, but there's obviously, you know, with any podcast you kind of have your favorite episode and your favorite guest. And I mean, some of those podcasts, like it's crazy to look back and think like I never thought about something that way until I had that conversation with that individual that I probably would have never had that conversation with beforehand if I wasn't, you know, open-minded to co-hosting this podcast or open-minded to going on their podcast originally. It is unique to look back on the journey. I think Riles and I have only kind of hung out in person probably like 5 times.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've been able to whip out, you know, 30 plus episodes of learning and mental health related and sport related. And, you know, I mean, I think the variety is the biggest part for us. I think we really do enjoy the fact that we're able to bring on a variety of perspectives and backgrounds and foundations, and it all kind of aligns with obviously the topic of mental health as a whole, but being able to, you know, bring on these unique guests that hopefully offer something different to each or to the audience as, you know, episodes go on. And I mean, our episode with Ray was amazing. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I said it, like, Ray is every voice of Christmas for the past however many years. Like, I was pinching myself that I was able to talk to Ray, but then again, it's like, okay, I'm having this discussion with Ray, but I'm also having a candid discussion with Ray, you know, like a candid, vulnerable discussion about his mental health and his journey. And I think that's just something that Riles and I really do value. And yeah, I mean, it's all about speaking your mind, and we hope that, you know, people that come on want to help us generate an awareness, and not just in a specific sport or not just in a specific line of work. Like, I think it's just being able to help people understand that, you know, no matter what you're doing or no matter what industry you're in or no matter, you know, how much money you make, I mean, it's okay,
Yes.
and you're good, and you can still, you know, yeah. So I mean, it's been wild, man. It's been a lot of fun, and I you know, I hope to continue to do it. And I think we hope to continue to, you know, spread some awareness and have some fun doing it as well. I think that's the biggest part.
Yeah. I think it's cool because it's like, you know, through COVID, that was kind of a thing. Podcasts kind of took off a lot in ways. But what I love with your guys is you guys kind of you do get different people from different parts of wherever they come from in part of life. But every episode, you know, fills my cup of tea up when I listen. I enjoy every conversation because you want to get educated more and have those conversations. And sometimes it does bring back moments of something happened in your life or someone else's life that and we love sharing it on our end when we do. And we'll continue to do that because we think supporting and having the conversations. And, you know, like, when I bought the hoodie and the Not Alone hoodie and the pants, you know, I was going through a really rough time in my life. I just, like, my girlfriend just had left me, and it was really tough again. And it's that roller coaster of like what's going on in your life. Like, you try, but what gets me through is doing stuff like this. You know, listening to other podcasts, listening to journeys. And again, I'm still the same. Like, I pinch myself when I interview some of these people, and, you know, like, you get to go for breakfast with some of them, or you get to have a conversation with them. And as you know, everyone in the game they're such great people. You know, and they're so giving with their time, and they're always willing to support. And you know, I'm a Leaf fan, but I cheer for the Flames. We do, as everyone knows that listens. Like, Luch and Toffoli and Backlund have been really good to us on our podcast, and so it's always kind of nice to support that. But is there one of your guests that's really, like, obviously you talked about Ray, and I agree with you. He's the voice of, you know, around Christmas time and holidays. But is there, besides him, which he was a great guest that you love, but is there another one that you took a lot of out of that interview, or, you know, you really enjoyed a lot of with that person in that interview?
Yeah. Oh man, there's been so many. I really think like an interview that I just like purely enjoyed. And like obviously learned a lot as well. But like Emily Kaplan was amazing. And I didn't know Emily very much before because she is ESPN based, and obviously we don't get much ESPN, so we didn't, you know, I didn't really ever like get a chance to watch her broadcast or watch, what she does. I watched, like, she does a lot of like cool work with definitely some young stars in the game. Like I know she's done some stuff with, I think, like Jack Hughes, and she just did some stuff with Jason Robertson. And I think it's perfect because it was interesting to hear her perspective on the fact that, she's able to have these conversations with these young guys. And I don't know if it's a case of, these young guys are just willing to share a little bit more and, not just have that regular kind of base hockey interview. But then again, like after having the conversation with her, I was like, I would have so much fun doing an interview with her because like she is just very personable and she's just very curious and very caring. And I think that was definitely one where it was like, this was just a lot of fun. And you said it perfectly, like it just filled up your cup. And then even like a recent one, like Eric Hewson. Eric is once again a gentleman that I kind of follow just with like his Same Here global health mental health movement, and I didn't know him personally. I never had any discussions with him, but what he was able to bring to the table in that conversation was in a way that I never would think about. And the way that he's able to be so intuitive and so, passionate about being able to address these very tough topics. I think that's something that I really had a lot of respect for him is, when a suicide happens in a college or a university of student athletes or whatever it is. I mean, he's one that is willing to address that, and he's one that is willing to put a perspective out there that you maybe just like sometimes wouldn't think about. And he's also a firm believer in like the 5 and 5, which I have kind of a new outlook on. Because it's always 1 and 5, it's always 1 and 4 or 1 and 5 of mental illness or whatever it may be, and statistically that's probably correct. But the fact that he's willing to go out there and say, no, it's 5 and 5. We all have shit. We all have our own journeys. We all have our own stories. And I mean, that was one that I took a lot from. And then also like an NFL veteran, Joe Hawley. Joe was so calming and such a neat perspective and such a neat presence on the podcast, but he was also able to, relate grief and football together. And I think, we so commonly relate grief to losing someone and losing an individual in your life and losing a loved one. And 100% grief is, completely attached to losing someone. But he put it in a way of, him losing football is grief as well, and he has to go into that process of grieving the sport and something he's loved doing for so many years. And I mean, I could go down the list. Like there's been so many amazing conversations, and there's been so many meaningful just aspects of banter that I just love doing. Like it's awesome. So I mean, I hope we can definitely start continuing to hit in the hockey world, because I think the hockey world is like you said, full of amazing people that just want to give and just want to be there and just want to help. And obviously on the other hand of things, I mean, we got a long ways to go in hockey, and there's a lot of change that still needs to come. And I want people to experience hockey the way I experienced hockey, and the way, a lot of us have experienced hockey, and the community that comes around with hockey. So
and that's the next topic I want to get on, because like Kelly and I agree with the 5 and 5, and Kelly's been on and said the same thing. And there's something that kind of stood out to me when you guys were interviewing Ray, and Riley was talking about it. I'm religious, and I'm a believer. I go to church. I love church. I love connecting with God. And that's another thing too. And reaching out to some players that are in that boat too. But I do think more, conversations on mental health need to happen. And I just kind of wonder where your thoughts, like you kind of touched on it there, like where the game needs to improve and kind of get better, so we have that experience like we've had. But what are the areas that you would like to see, some improvement with the NHL on mental health?
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to definitely like think about this, and I don't know if I have, I guess, like the full answer yet, because I mean, it's hard. I mean, as athletes, I think there is so much hesitation already to really go out there and present yourself and support yourself, because I think a lot of people do look at hockey as kind of an old boys club, which is, which is fine. But I think especially kind of in our generation and the younger generations, like, I think we are able to have these conversations, and we are able to put mental health at the forefront. And also, I think if you chat with, professional athletes, I mean, they'll all reassure you that when their mental health and their emotional health is on, like, their physical performance is that much better.
Yeah.
And I think, just being able to tie all those three or all those four with spiritual health as well. Like, I think being able to really take a step back and reflect on how, those everyday routines can, and I think that's even like, I touch on routine, and I instantly had a thought of, having these conversations with Riley has made me realize, how passionate he is about obviously hockey is his job, and hockey has given him so much, and he has so much love for hockey. But just to hear him say, over and over that, hockey is one thing, but there's also so much more to life. And
Yes.
there's so much more that we can enjoy. And there's so many things that we can go out and do. And I think, unfortunately, we're creatures of routine as humans, as athletes, as hockey players. And once again, that's perfectly okay, because I think a routine is very, integral part of your foundation of your day-to-day health. But then again, I mean, once again, those conversations I've had with Joe Hawley, it's being able to get outside your comfort zone. It's being able to, create those little new neural pathways in your brain. It's being able to, try new things, challenge yourself. It's being able to, see what's out there. But I think, unfortunately, like, I don't know personally, because I'm not a professional athlete, but I can imagine that it is a constant grind, and there's constant anxiety involved, and there's constant, thoughts going on, that it's hard to consume yourself with anything else other than your sport you play,
Yeah.
which makes perfect sense. But I think, giving these incredible individuals a platform, and giving these incredible individuals something, or even just like, we had a conversation with Chris Johnston, and I was talking about how, even as reporters, I think they're probably just wanting the story, which is their job, which is, like, that's what they do, and that's good. People want the story. But he was even saying how, we probably, as a outside world looking in on these professional athletes, could ask other questions and be curious about other things,
Yeah.
that's going on in their life. Like, the amount of guys that have foundations that nobody knows about.
I,
I
I,
mean, foundations are a special, special thing.
yeah.
And to be able to, have a foundation is a lot of work, and it also creates a huge impact. And I wish these guys, I wish that they could just go out there and just talk about their foundation, or talk about their other passions and their other loves. And I think that's obviously what Emily Kaplan does such a good job at, is being able to, get these guys into comfortable environments and comfortable situations where they feel as though, hockey is my job, and we're here mainly to talk about hockey, but let's chat about other shit. I got other stuff going on in my life. And I think that's, like, I guess, kind of where we can maybe go with that. But once again, I mean, I don't have all the answers, and I'm not a professional athlete. So yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly, Tyler, because like when I first started the podcast, my stepdad listened to it. I think we're probably up around episode, I don't know, maybe 9 or 8. And he's like, when you have these former or active players on, he's like, you got to ask them about their foundations. The second you said that, it's just like break
Yeah.
up. He's like, and that became a theme of, like, we would talk about, what the charitable work that they do in their community on a year season basis, or what golf tournament are they a part of in the summertime. I think that's huge. One of the things I would like to see too, like, I would agree, like, we need to touch more on that. And I wish we did, as in the media side of things. Another thing that I've been on this for a long time. um I because I feel bad. Like, Luch is a friend, and he's been sitting out last couple of games, and it's the first time it's happened, and for him in quite some time. But Riley's talked about it, and other people talked about it. And I was driving today, and I was listening to a show here, and they're talking about Ryan Murray being a healthy scratch
Mm-hmm.
for quite a while. What I would love to see the NHL, I don't know how they do this, is, and I don't know, like, it would be nice to figure out how you do it. But you can only be a healthy scratch for a certain number of games where you got to get back in the lineup and you got to go. You can't just be a healthy scratch for 7, 8 games in a row. Like the Frank Corrados have talked about it, the Justin Halls have talked about it, where even Mike Commoner's talked about it, like just how much of a grind that is and hard that is. Like I've seen some of those morning skates and how hard those guys grind after everyone else is off the ice, which is good because you're staying in shape and all that. But like, you're not playing that night unless there's an injury between the second the skate is done and the game starts. But I don't know where you come out on it, if you agree on something like that, where I don't know what the number would even be, Tyler, but that's just one thing of maybe many that we can talk about. But I'd like to see what you think about it though, in that aspect.
Yeah, yeah, I've never actually thought about it that way. Like I have a really good friend who's in the NHL. I won't name names, but he's kind of going through it as well. And I'm thinking to myself, for him, I'm thinking like, how do you stay engaged?
Mhm.
And then also like, how do you find that balance of, working so hard to get back into the lineup, but also not ever really knowing if you're going to get back or when you're going to get back into the lineup and how that's going to look when you get back into the lineup. I think it's so tough because I know individuals don't want to present the fact that they need reassurance and they need recognition sometimes, but it's true.
It
I think
is. It's important. Yeah.
it's as humans, we need reassurance sometimes and we need recognition. And it's tough because I can't imagine that, you know, coaches and general managers have a lot going on and maybe they probably don't have time to go up to every single individual and be like, hey, your role is still appreciated. Thank you for being here. Like, I'm not saying that they should be doing that, but it is interesting. Like, how do you find that balance of, okay, like, I understand that this guy's probably going through it right now. What can we do for him? What can we do to better him? And what can we do to, make it still enjoyable to come to the rink? Is there something else that we can get him involved in, on game nights or, just to take your mind off things? Because I think, I've been scratched a couple times, I guess, in my junior career. And I think as soon as you kind of don't see your name on that lineup or on that program, your mind doesn't stop. And like, it's just a constant, like, okay, I need to do everything in my power to get back into the lineup, but also like, why am I not in the lineup? What did I do wrong? And like, do I go to the coach? Do I ask? Do I become curious? How do I present this to the coach? How do I present this to do I ask for a trade? I think that's the tough part because it's probably so hard for even Loutre now to get his mind off of that.
Yeah.
And to get his mind off of, okay, like, it sucks right now and I want to be in the lineup, but what can I do, outside of the rink? I still want to be a family man. I still want to make sure that, my wife and kids know that I'm here. And, I don't know. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see what they do for sure, and on that. But the final one before we let you go is your relationship with Kobe Armstrong and Sidney Crosby. As you talked about, you're a Penguins fan, and I think it was in the Olympics in 2010. Joel McGinley's brothers and sisters were telling me just the salt of the earth person that Sidney Crosby is. I've never met him, but just so many great things I've heard about him. From on and off the ice, from media likes and others, but also in Kobe Armstrong too, and the close relationship you have with both players and individuals and great people away from the rink as well too.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm looking at all my jerseys, and I got my Crosby and I got my Armstrong signed jerseys hanging up. And I think, it's funny because it seems like a lot of amazing things that I've been able to get from the game of hockey have stemmed from Colby, but not just Colby. His wife Mel is one of the most amazing individuals on the entire planet. And I think Colby's just a good old Saskatchewan boy. And even that summer after, going to the Stanley Cup finals with Colby and Mel and Shums and Camo, two of the other boys that were on Humboldt. I think it's just like, they have so much love. And once again, just goes to show how amazing the hockey community is. I knew of Colby Armstrong before, obviously, like it's funny because he'll tell you, but he's got the the fastest world or what is it fastest winter classic goal in the history, I think.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny because he is just a normal dude. We were just in Pittsburgh not long ago, and he has been able to do so much in the hockey world now with Chicklets, now with all he does with Sportsnet and everything, and it's just a testament to his character, and it's just a testament to that he has the biggest heart in the entire world. Like he just loves people, and he just loves being able to share and experience and help make an impact, but he just wants no attention of it either. Like he doesn't want the recognition of it.
Yeah.
And that relationship I guess led into meeting Sid for the first time. It would have been like directly before COVID started. I think it was probably in like January, February, right before that March COVID when everything started to shut down. But yeah, for me, I mean, I grew. Everybody always calls me a bandwagon. Like I'm truly not. Like I love my Pens. I love Sid. I love Gino. I love Chris. And I think for me, I felt like the biggest kid in a candy store ever. And I didn't really know, like, it's like one of those meetings where you don't know how to feel going into it. Like you don't know how they're going to be. But he came out with his little shake and in his suit. And I mean, we chatted for like half hour, and it was just like the most natural conversation. Obviously it helped that Colby was there just because they are very close people or close friends as well. But I mean, once again, Sid is just the absolute perfect
Yeah.
individual in the game. Like, I mean, it's hard to explain because once again, I mean, he does so much behind the scenes that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a Kobe Bryant situation. Like all those stories came out after Kobe passed away about all that he did and all those things that he didn't want the recognition for, the attention of. I mean, it's same with Sid. I mean, the impact that he has and just the pure love for people and the game that he has as well is, oh, it was so refreshing. Like it was just amazing to just like sit there and chat with, my idol and my hero that I've watched for so many years. And
Yeah.
I mean, it helps that obviously the Pens won 3 cups
Yeah.
in the last little bit.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, I can't say enough about especially Colby and Mel, but also just like the generosity and kindness that Sid has. Yeah.
Nice. That's a good way to end it. There's a lot more to get into, but it's always it's good in a way because it leaves you for more in that so we'll definitely have you back on sometime soon here, and maybe we can do something kind of cool, a live podcast somewhere or something like that. There's always other different possibilities, but Tyler, keep making a difference out there in this world. Keep doing what you do. You've impacted me in a beautiful way, and I'm happy to kind of talk to you and connect here. If people want to buy some Not Alone Clo branding, where would they go? And then how can they listen to your guys' podcast? We got to plug that before we sign off too.
Yeah. So we got a little website. So notaloneco.com is our website. We donate, portions of the proceeds back to a variety of charities and foundations in the mental health space. And then Speak Your Mind, I think you can find it on all, podcast platforms. But yeah, Josh, I just want to say, like, I appreciate this, but I also appreciate you. And I would love nothing. Get your ass down to Calgary and let's do something in person. Let's do it. I would love that. Thank you for the conversation today. It truly was a pleasure. And yeah, we'll be doing this again soon.
For sure. We'll maybe we'll go to a Flames game or something like that. So
Perfect.
Perfect. Take care, man, and keep spreading that love. Take care.
Thank you again.